Hey, what's up, guys? Man, made the trip down the road here to Grayson. Super excited to be here with my mom and my dad. So it's always a good time whenever I come back home and just get to spend some time with them, but also get to learn some knowledge from them. So you're in for a treat. We're super excited for it as we kick off this brand new series, Relationship Goals. And today we're really gonna go to you all for some relationship advice. That's right. We're gonna go to talking about that and talking about relationships with your friends, your family, and then your relationship with God as well. So we're gonna dive into it. And but before we get deep into it, I don't know, how did you all meet?
Well, first I'll start there. I didn't know Angie, and of course I knew her sister, and she was it. And so at school, um, she was the one everyone wanted to go out with or
The
to know.
sister.
Yeah, it's her sister, and so I knew who she was, and boy was she was nice, and so I knew it. I thought, well, I had word that she would like to go out with me, and so I thought, I don't know her, but if she's anything like her sister, I'm in. So uh, that's how I first was introduced to her. Of course, she has a story of how that she was first introduced to me and what she saw.
Well, my sister wasn't interested in him.
No.
And so she tells me, she says, there's this guy that I think that you might want to go out with that I've seen at school. And she said, come on down to the cafeteria and I'll introduce you to him. And I said, okay. And when we went around the corner, I saw him riding on a girl's back. And I was like, whoa. Well, he's cute. I'm gonna go after him. I'm gonna let him take a ride on my back.
Oh my gosh. That's
He was
That's unbelievable.
disappointed in me. I wasn't like my sister, but she didn't want to go out with him, so
Yeah, it's true. I didn't ask her out. So
but she didn't want to.
we'll never.
She didn't want
we'll
to
never.
anyway.
We'll never know.
No, she didn't want to.
Oh man, there you go. That is how my parents and met. What grade?
Well, you were
No,
a freshman, and I guess I was
junior.
junior. Yep, junior in high school.
There you
That's
go.
right.
High school sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed together through
Yeah.
high school, and that's
Yep.
pretty wild.
Got married, and the rest is history.
There you go.
Mhm.
There you go. Now I'd say you're pretty happy.
I'm so blessed. Am I ever glad that that we were introduced to each other? So
Yeah.
it's the best thing ever happened to me.
So you talked about you knew or you heard from some people that she had a sister and ended up being mom here, and then you heard from your sister about him. But so I'm guessing you heard from like your friends and things like that. Like they probably told you. Was it your friends that told you about?
Really, it was one of my friends. Uh, he liked her, and so but I kind of made fun of him because she was really little and shy, and I was more of an outgoing person. But she was cute and sweet, and to be honest with you, I knew what I wanted, and she was more of what I wanted. I didn't
Uh-huh.
want the type of flashy or loud or part of the world, and I
Yeah.
knew she was innocent, sweet, and it's what I was after,
Yeah.
and so that's why.
That's a wild story right there. Now, y'all think that you see like reality TV and The Bachelor and all this stuff. Man, welcome to drama
Mhm.
back in the day.
That's
Just
right.
letting you and see that. But with that, gonna dive into a little bit more serious questions. I guess serious, fun at the same time. But dive into what relationships look like, not just for you all, and because I get it, you're gonna have a boyfriend or girlfriend in high school. Some people will, and what's surprising though, that 50% of people don't. And I think that should be like a word of encouragement for some of y'all watching. Like man, some of y'all are just trying to settle for someone just because you feel alone. And that's not true. You're not alone. You're not alone in it. 50% of people that go on from high school to college have never had a boyfriend or girlfriend. So you're not alone in that. Don't feel singled out just because you are single. It's not like that. And God has someone better for you. And yeah, we're going to dive into that later on, even in the series. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But we're going to jump in and talk about more relationships. We get the dating. And like I said, man, sometimes you're not going to have them. But the ones that you have, like, they're honestly important. I think that so often we look at relationships in high school and middle school, and it's like all puppy love. And we treat it like that. But in reality, I think that a lot of times we have to see, man, am I mature enough to be in a relationship? Like, am I really mature enough to be in a relationship? Because it's serious. One of two things are going to happen. You're either going to get married or you're going to break up. There's no in between. I mean, you don't just date forever. You're going to get married or break up. So it's important. So I want to encourage you, hey, we're going to be talking about it next week, talking about dating, talking about who you should be looking for, talking about your friendships a little bit deeper. But that's just a little preview right there. But now we're going to jump into some friendships. How would you say that your all's friendships were like in high school and middle school?
You want to go first?
You can.
Well, I run with my friendships. I run with a different crew, probably a rougher crew.
Mm-hmm.
I was a country boy that, to be honest with you, I was when I was introduced to East Carter, it was a shock to me because I wasn't used to that. So I chose friends that did not intimidate me.
Mm-hmm.
I chose a path of just fitting in and a different type than what I really was. But I was a bit embarrassed of not going places, doing things. So I chose that crowd. And when I chose that crowd, I was very strong-willed. I'm still strong-willed. I'm too strong-willed. Mm-hmm. But I want to make it clear that with those friends, I thought I was in control. Mm. I thought I was strong enough.
Wow.
That I could handle myself, and I couldn't.
Wow.
So I felt my relationships. I was in a different kind of relationship with friends that I wouldn't recommend, but that's what I ran with, and but I knew better.
Yeah,
I knew better. So
yeah, and it's so good that a lot of times when we try to fight to fit in, like whatever we believe that we should fit in with, or we want to fit in with, we fight for it so often instead of being who God has called us to be. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you who you are. We see it everywhere. That, man, the world will tell you what you're supposed to look like, what you're supposed to wear, who you're supposed to be around, mm-hmm. and what you're supposed to do. But just because they said that you should doesn't mean that it's right.
No.
And so often we fight to fit in. We fight for that popularity. We fight for something to make us feel us, mm-hmm. instead of someone who will fulfill us. And that happens so often. And I like what you said there, that you thought you were strong enough. You thought you were strong enough. Man, I fought my way into it. I'm strong enough to withstand it. I know that who I am. I'm just trying to put on this mask for them. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. And so often that's not the case. I know I've talked about it so many times, but it's so much easier to pull someone down than it is to pull someone up.
Yes.
And it's easy to be pulled down, and you don't think it. You never start it going, you know what, I'm going to go down the wrong path. You never do that.
No.
You're never like, today I'm going to make a bad decision that's going to ruin my life. You don't choose that intentionally. But what happens is, one step at a time, you begin further and further. And before you know it, and you're lost, you don't know where you're at. And it's like, where am I? Who am I? What has happened to me? And, the Bible says that bad company corrupts good character. And it will. So be careful who you surround yourself with. Don't fight just to fit in. Don't just fight for a feeling. but look to the one who will fulfill you, and look to the one who wants to surround you with people who will build you up, not tear you down, who will build you up, not pull you down, but has that loves you, who loves the church, and who loves him. And whenever you do that, man, it really is life-changing. What about you?
We came from different backgrounds. Keith came from a Christian home.
Mm-hmm.
I came from a split home. And I had seen a lot of things at a young age. So I had already built a wall up against things of the world. I knew what I wanted. And I was searching for, although I wasn't a Christian, my family weren't Christians yet. I knew that I wanted my family to be like his family. So in searching for friends, I searched for friends that weren't wild, that were more, would keep me out of trouble, because, you know, I spent a lot of time with friends, and I wanted a boyfriend that I felt comfortable with, that I was not going to be pushed into doing things that I did not want to do, because I knew from an early age, I want a Christian home.
Yeah.
I want a Christian family.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friends, I really didn't run around much. I had brothers and sisters, and I spent most of my time with you.
Yeah, and that'll lead into our next question. But before we do that, would you say, that's perfect, would you say that you had a different perspective because of some of the things that you went through, some of the things that you seen? It's like, man, I see things differently. I look at things differently. And that's really what got you to that point.
Yes, I looked at things. I wanted my family and, of course, me. But I looked, he comes from a big family of 9 brothers and sisters, a Christian mom and dad. And I looked at them, and I thought, I want my family to experience this peace. I wanted them to have it. And I was bound and determined they were going to get it.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And man, that's even for you. I want to encourage you watching, parents, students, whoever's watching. I want to encourage you that to have a different perspective. We've talked about it in previous weeks. If you haven't checked out the previous week's messages, I encourage you to go back and check them out. But have a different perspective to where it's like, man, I don't see it. I don't understand it. So often we want to feel certain ways. We want that instant gratification. And whenever we don't get it, a lot of times we blame it on God, and we go down a wrong path because we just want to feel good. But man, God has something so much better that sometimes you're not going to see it right there in front of you. But you have to fix your perspective to a heavenly perspective, to a godly perspective, to say, God, it's not my will, but your will. Not my plans, but your plans. And God, it's not my relationships, but it's yours. And just surrender that to him, that even for your family as well. Which takes me to our next question of how was your relationship with your family? What did it look like really in your life?
Yeah. Well, my family, we were close. To be honest with you, we had no choice to be close. We couldn't afford to go places, to do things. All we had was each other. Mm-hmm. Church was our place to go. My mom, she's solid rock. I mean, there's no give. I think that's where I get my, my strong will. Mm-hmm. But I watched her, and she would tell you, I watched her, she would not give. Mm-hmm. She would not give when it came to the children and the world. She drew a line, and she set the course. Mm-hmm. And there's so many times, and I want to say that to the young people, mm-hmm. and those parents that's listening, you have a responsibility. It's on you, parent. First, it's on you, and I'll do whatever I can get by with, and so will you. And so when I'm telling you something, it's usually because I've went through it.
Yeah.
And I messed up. Mm-hmm. I done it wrong with my children.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's why I'm strong-willed. I know what's best. I watched my mom. I learned from her. And when I strayed away from what she taught me, I always failed.
Yeah.
Always. So that's my background with my family. Of course, I've been so blessed with the family that I have. We always had someone to go to. So I couldn't even if I wanted to do things, my mom and dad was sitting there waiting for me. My brother Steve would not even go to bed till I'd come in. They put such a guilt trip on me and on their knees praying
Mm-hmm.
that I knew to get home. And that stuff that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
What I was blessed with. So that's my history with my family.
What about you, Mom?
Well, like I said, I came from a split home, so I had two different families. So I would stay home, and I had stepbrothers. I had, I wasn't brought up in a Christian home, and then I would leave and go for the summers with my dad, who always took us to church when we were there. He wasn't, they weren't Christians yet, but we lived a good life there. And then we would come home, and I was loved by both sets. I had the love, but like I said, maybe if I hadn't been around Keith's family so much, I would not have experienced what it was like. I knew what a Christian family was like, but I will also say that we had neighbors.
Yeah.
And I was probably about 9, 10 years old, and I would stand and look out the window and watch them go to church.
Yeah.
Every Sunday. And I would want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, I was loved so much, and I have great parents, but not everybody grows up from a young age of being Christians.
Exactly.
And so,
It's still possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's what's so beautiful too. And it can just be a simple yes or no question. I'll have to dive into it. But would you say that after you got saved, that you also prayed for your parents to be saved?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember us even talking about me being young and us praying for that as well. And I think that that's so beautiful though. Even though so different, it was because of your parents and your brothers and sisters on their knees praying for you, that you came to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of your relationship with Jesus and you being on your knees and praying for your parents that they came to Jesus. And I say that to say this, that maybe you're in a home and man, you grew up in church, but if you're being honest, man, I haven't really been living like it. I haven't been living like I know Jesus. And I don't show that love that he's shown us. And I don't live my life and live my relationships and my friendships. And I'm really not close with my family. And I don't show them the love that God has shown me. And honestly, at the end of the day, I'm not even a Christian. My family's a Christian and we go to church. And so people associate me with it. But until you have a personal relationship with Christ, until you ask him to forgive you of your sins, then that's not there. Your relationship with him is between you and him. It's not him and your parents or him and your brothers and sisters, but it's between you and him. And I want to encourage you, man, give your life to him. And we're going to talk about the relationship with God next, but also for the student who's watching who, man, your parents, they don't do the whole church thing. Maybe your family is split up. And you know what? My family have been divorced, and man, their parents, they were divorced, and that's just how it is. It's how it's going to be. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be. And I've seen at youth, family trees changed because of Jesus and what he's done in students just like you. And he wants to use you, not for your glory, but for his glory, and to tell the world what he can do for them. And you can begin to share that gospel with your family. So I think that that's just something so beautiful to see that, man, all things, and we've talked about it. You all know we've talked about it so much, that all things work together for the good of those who love him. And just seeing that and seeing our families now. And I mean, I got to baptize my mama. It's one of the most special moments of my life. Absolutely amazing. And then I know we're going a little bit here, but we're going to talk about real quick your relationship with God. How would you say that it's changed over the time from high school, middle school? How has it changed to now? And what's one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Yeah. Well, if I was going to advise my younger self, it would be don't fall under that curse of trying to fit in. You just talked about, Brandon. I wish my younger self, I wish I would have broke away from that, went straight toward, Angie, what God's plan was, because I know it was God's plan. I wish I hadn't put myself in the positions I put myself in. So if I could do it over again, I would not trust my friends in this world, but I would trust more in my learnings and teachings from my mom and dad, and I would have stayed off that path. But you know what? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it, and that's why I'm so strong with my children and my grandchildren. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And so if I was going to tell myself to do it over again, I would have went straight path and not been worrying about the world, because like you talked about, my relationship now with God, I look back and it's a joke of what I thought I had to be when I was young and all these things. God just wants our heart and that personal relationship. And mom and dad can't live it for me. Angie can, and so that's what I would say.
About you, Mom?
If I could go back, I would say don't go through all of the heartache that it might take to bring you to Jesus. There's a lot of hurtful things that, if you refuse to put God first, that will bring you to your knees. And it is so much better to give it to God, trust him, and go pray for your family, never give up, and seek advice from older and wiser. I always tell my kids now, look for someone that's been married 40 plus years and ask advice from them. They are not perfect, like Keith said, but they have been through more than you know. And that's my advice.
Yeah, that's so good. And one thing I noticed within both of those is surrender. It's just complete surrender of, man, I'm going to surrender to what God says. I'm going to trust him at his word that, you know what, I shouldn't have these relationships. You know what, I shouldn't be with this guy or girl because, man, even though they may be a good person, man, they don't follow Jesus. And I'm telling you, if they don't have a relationship with Jesus, then they don't know true love. They don't know true love. And we'll see here in the Bible as we come to a close, it says right here, it says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love." I think we're searching after love, but to know love, you must know God and surrender your life to him. If you don't know him, I'm going to give you an opportunity right now to get to know him. Give you an opportunity to surrender your life to him. I'm going to ask everyone, if you would, close your eyes and bow your heads. And Man, maybe you're watching this and you're like, man, but I've messed up. Man, I haven't done what God's told me to do. I haven't been the person that I should be. I don't come from that family. You don't understand. But you can't catch God off guard. He knows everything that you're going to do. He knows your family. He knows everything about you. And he looked down at you and he said that you were worth dying for. That your sins were worth dying for. And tonight you can be forgiven. But will you surrender? And if that's you and you want to give your life to him, just say this prayer with me. Say, Jesus, I believe. Jesus, I believe that you came. I believe that you died. And Jesus, I believe that you rose again. God, please forgive me of my sins. And tonight, as best as I know how, I repent. I turn from my old ways. I turn from those relationships and I fix my focus on you and how you tell me to live. I turn to you. I declare you as Lord of my life, Lord of all my relationships, my friendships, everything. And if that's you, I truly believe that you are saved. And I believe that Jesus has a better life for you. He has better relationships for you. He has better friendships for you, better family relationships for you. And we just want to help you on this journey with Jesus. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me, my mom, and my dad. Had a great time with you all. And we can't wait to see you back here next week. We'll see you all.